There is no record in the Old Testament of any prophet being crucified the way Jesus and his disciples were in the New Testament, and that fact is not just history. It's a spiritual revelation. Let's break it down. Old Testament prophets were feared, not crucified. Prophets in the Old Testament were often revered, feared, or even avoided because people knew they carried raw divine authority. Their words could shut the heavens, call down fire, or bring nations to their knees. Elijah called fire from heaven twice and people died. What about Moses, Samuel, Daniel? Did people hate them? Yes. Were they opposed? Sometimes. But nobody dared crucify them. Why? Because they carried a mantle of divine dread. Even kings bowed. Even pagan nations recognized their authority. They were walking portals of divine law, and the consequence of touching them was often instant judgment. Now let's go back to grace. Grace is an armor for failure, given to those who strive to walk in the light of God yet are not always stable. It is a cover for the broken, the seeking, the fallen. But when was grace first given to man? It was in the beginning, when God looked upon humanity and regretted ever creating us. He prepared to destroy us, wipe us away from existence. But then Christ intercepted. That moment, that divine interruption, was grace. From that very moment, God took 1/3 of his spirit from us. Our years were shortened, our strength reduced, for grace is not freedom. Grace is a restraint. You were never meant to have free will. In Eden there was only law. They lived long without corruption. Even Lucifer knows this. Have you ever asked yourself, why haven't the fallen angels begged for forgiveness? Surely if they did, God cannot forgive them. But they have, and he cannot. Why? Because they were not created under grace. They were not formed with free will. They were born of law, and the law cannot be broken. Angels were created with the ability to choose. Not free will. You might not understand. This is how Lucifer, a high-ranking angel, was able to rebel against God. He chose pride and he fell. Angels don't have the same kind of free will as humans. Angels don't have flesh. They're not meant to reproduce, evolve, or grow spiritually the way humans do. Once they choose their side, God or rebellion, their decision is permanent. There's no redemption plan for fallen angels. Same goes to Adam. Humans were created with no plan of redemption until the fall of Adam. They carry the same nature but in different way. This same law bound Adam and Eve. Do you think they didn't cry for mercy after the fall? They did. But God could not forgive. He had already declared, "You shall have no other gods before me." They were never meant to know good and evil. That is why Satan used the knowledge against them, because he understood something Adam did not. If man sins within Eden, there is no forgiveness. Only a few can understand this mystery. Grace is the reduction of divine power. If not for grace, we would be wiped away, like Sodom and Gomorrah, like the world in the days of Noah. Back then, prophets lived by law, and through the law they moved mountains. That is the secret the world hides from.